Hi, how you all doing today? Great. I got a couple questions before we start. One is, how many of you like to dance? All right, now we're in. The second question I've got to ask you before we start is, how many of you know what a giraffe is? Okay, you know that they're really tall, they got really long legs, right? Okay? So the story we're going to talk about today is that giraffes can't dance. And that's because they got such long legs and they're all kind of get gangly and walking around. So we're going to talk about that today, okay? We all right with that today? Okay. And I'm glad you're all here today, and I'm glad you're having fun at the Easter egg roll. You all having fun? All right. Good. All right. The story is giraffes can't dance. And it's all about a giraffe called Gerald. And Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim. But his knees were awfully crooked and his legs were rather thin. And you already talked about how big a giraffe is, how tall it is, right? So he couldn't dance real well. He was very good at standing, and he was very good at munching shoots off of trees because he was so tall. But when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees and he fell. Now, every year in Africa, do you all know where Africa is? It's another continent. You can raise your hands if you know where Africa is. It's another far away in another continent. Now, every year in Africa, they hold what's called the jungle dance, where every single animal turns up to skip and to prance. And this year, when that day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad because when it came to dancing, he was really, really bad. The warthogs, they started waltzing, and the rhinos, they rock and rolled. And the lions danced a tango that was elegant and bold. The chimps all did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. So Gerald, our giraffe, swallowed bravely as he walked towards the dance floor. But the lions, they saw him coming, and they soon began to roar and to laugh at Gerald. Hey, look at clumsy Gerald. The animals all sneered. Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, you're so weird. And Gerald simply got scared, and Gerald froze up. He was rooted to the spot. They're right, he thought. I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot. So he crept off the dance floor and he started walking home. He never felt so sad. He felt so sad and so alone. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. The moon can be so beautiful, he whispered with a sigh. And we've all looked up at beautiful moons before and how nice they are in the sky. And excuse me, coughed a cricket who'd seen Gerald earlier on, but sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song. Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. And to me, the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze. So imagine that the lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying, and his tail was swishing around. He threw his legs out sideways, and he swung them everywhere. And then he did a backward somersault and leapt into the air. Gerald felt so wonderful. His mouth was open wide. I am dancing. Yes, I'm dancing. I am dancing, Gerald cried. Then one by one, each animal who had been there at the dance arrived while Gerald danced on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle. We must be in a dream. Gerald's the best dancer that we have ever seen." But how did you learn to dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how. But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and the stars above. And he said, "We can all dance," he said, "when we find music that we love." How about that? Thank you. Thanks for being here today. You look beautiful today. You having fun? You having good? All right. Thanks for being here. Enjoy the rest of the day.